After a one-week break, thanks to the Sports Bowl thingy, the Racecraft Rallycross drivers get set to go this time across the pond as we make our way for the third consecutive year over to Knockhill. Welcome back to Racecraft Rallycross, powered by Next Level Racing. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, alongside with Dane Baird once again. And Dane, it's probably good that you missed last week because everyone missed last week as well. But we get ready to go at what's going to be a fun technical little track here today, and you're expecting some great racing once again.
Yeah, it's a fantastic little circuit, Knockhill. I absolutely love it. It was the first time last season that I've ever seen the circuit. I never had the chance to race on it, at least not relatively competitively. So seeing the drivers out on circuit last season was awesome. I'm hoping for more of the same today. We've got a lot of drivers signed up. Apparently some dirt oval drivers, so we'll see exactly what they think of things once we get started here in RX2. But yeah, look, I'm really looking forward to some good racing at Knockhill.
Yeah, don't forget, double header of action, RX2 and then RX1. RX2 a fixed setup series, RX1 open series, setup series with the same cars. I think we're going to see Jarno Leskinen out in action today as well. Here's a look at the schedule, the revamped schedule as well, with Sonoma now moving from week 10 to now be our championship finale, which is an interesting spot for it, while Charlotte has now become a traditional season finale here at IRX Rallycross land. Sonoma has traditionally played host to championship finales as well, but looking forward to now Knockhill, Daytona, Atlanta, and Iowa to take us through to the midway point of the season. What do you think about this change, Dane, to push Sonoma back and now place host to our, hopefully, championship-defining round?
I like Charlotte as the finale. I do like Charlotte as the finale, but Sonoma is also a really fun circuit. It's one of my favorite circuits because back in the day, before we had all these new circuits like Charlotte, Brands Hatch, Barcelona, Knockhill, all of these new ones, we just had ovals and they were all really flat and kind of boring, and Sonoma came in as quite a different circuit. It's got a hill. It's actually got elevation change, which was really nice. So it was one that I really enjoyed. It's only got 5 turns, which is quite surprising when you drive it. It feels a bit longer, but yeah, it's a really fun circuit. Just hopefully everyone will be able to keep their noses clean whilst they go through the bowling alley, especially if there's championship implications.
Talk a little bit about the track info here. This is one of those tracks that I think, quite curiously, you don't want to necessarily joker on the final lap. Yes, it's a longer joker in that you have to travel a further distance, but it also sets you up to carry a lot more speed on that run down into the traditional turn number 1 here at Knockhill. And much like last time out, the way that the dirt asphalt split works here, Dane, is you go onto the asphalt at the start, you switch to the dirt once, you switch back to the tarmac, and that's it. It's a pretty simple combination.
Yeah, it's no changing back and forth like we have at some other circuits, like Charlotte and Hell. Those two circuits, you can never really tell what surface you're on. You're changing so often, but Knockhill, nice and straightforward. And the dirt section, it is a good one, but it will punish you if you get it even a millimeter wrong.
Talk a little bit about points and how they're scored and built up over the course of the multi-race format. Of course, it all starts in qualifying with 6 points going the way of our pole position winner. 8 points then in each of our heat races. That depends on how many drivers we have out there in the field, either 2 or 3 heats usually, but then 10 drivers or so get whittled down into our feature where the winner walks away with the 15 points. Traditional rallycross system, and as ever, it pays to be consistent in these championships here, Dane.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And if you are one of the quickest drivers and you manage to do really well in all 3 of those races, it sets you up really, really well, especially early on in the championship. We're only at round 2, but of course all these results still matter a ton.
Like you said, only 1 round in the book, so 10% of the story written, but a tie at the top of the championship with Baldwin and Honka on 24, Winkler on 17, and then Kirtley and Slough both on 12 with Kusin there as well. So very hard to really take anything, and I think a week off has kind of helped some drivers, but of course I think some others a little bit trying to keep one eye on the action over at the World Centre of Racing Day, and I'm certainly not going to be doing that over the course of the afternoon.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got some interesting decisions and racing and general NASCAR things over the last few days, but yeah, it's all about Rallycross, at least for the next hour and a half, 2 hours or so.
Absolutely. We'll get underway with qualifying in just a few moments' time, but here's a look at our race analysis. It will differ slightly when we get to RX1, but 5-lap heats will remain, along with the 5-lap LCQs and a 10-lap feature. 8x incident limit means a little bit of leeway for the drivers to be banging wheels, but the fixed setup means that you've got to adjust to what you've got, and at least in RX2, it was a delight for me to join the series last time out, Dane, and see not just Subaru STIs in the field, got a handful of Fiestas, got a Beetle in the field as well here for this RX2 class.
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually know, like I said, I haven't really done too much running myself at the circuit, so I'm not sure if there is sort of a car that is favored. I know that Charlotte, for example, you can generally do better in, like, and we're talking minuscule margins here, but generally it's slightly better to be in a Fiesta or a Beetle than a Subaru because the shorter wheelbase cars do a bit better there. I've got no idea which cars behave slightly better at this place, but you can see through the dirt section here as we finally get some on-track action. That dirt section is tight. It is very tight.
Yeah, you don't necessarily want to go too wide through there, but you also don't want to overshoot your braking into the final corner, as a Pickle Teal shows us right there, and the Nitro Rallycross car will reset and take another go at it. Here's Nicholas Vermont in the Fiesta winding his way into the final corner. The Joker, of course, extends a little bit further, but we wind our way up the hill and blast up to the line, really maximizing the track as much as we can. It's a 37.73. But the best still a 36.9 sitting with Honka. Margin relatively tight, about 800ths back to that number 2 car with the 177 within 0.2 of pole.
And what you'll often see is drivers taking to the Joker to then come out onto start their flying lap, because as we mentioned earlier, Arjun, you carry so much extra speed coming from the longer run up towards the start line. You carry so much speed down the main straight in towards turn 1 that, yeah, it makes a lot of sense to do that. That works like that in a couple other circuits as well, Barcelona and Phoenix, a much lesser extent there. But yeah, this dirt section, it is fantastic. The car's bouncing around all over the place, and then try and pick your braking point for that right-hander. It's a pretty barren out there.
Great look through that middle sector with Robbie Kirtley finishing 5th last time out. 38.7 is going to be his first lap with just 44 seconds left to go. He'll get one more attempt. 89 winding up to get their first lap time onto the board as well. As it sits right now, Ollie Honka, who qualified 3rd 2 weeks ago, looking good to grab pole position here. Dylan Baldwin was on pole position last time out, but he doesn't look to be setting a qualifying time. Have to see him working his way from the back of each of our heats. Solch up to 19th. You can just see how tight the line is through turn number 1 as well. There's a specific strip of tarmac that, at least in the real world, the drivers try and line themselves on up through. Qualifying comes to an end though, Dane, and it's looking like we're in for a fun battle here today.
Yep, really intrigued to see how the drivers do in towards turn 1, because turn 1 is fine. It's really wide. It widens up on exit as well, but it then gets incredibly tight in turn 2 with that little concrete strip. If you're not on the inside line into turn 2, you are not having a good time of the first lap.
Take a look at the starting grid for heat number 1. Ollie Honka qualified up in the top 3 last time out. He'll grab pole position this time out and hope to make his way to the feature once again and maybe grab the victory. Grab Johnson, Nicholas Vermont, Hector Sierra, Matthew Lind, and Robbie Kirtley through the rest of your top 6 as they'll line up 2 wide. Solch, Winicki, Dubois, as well as Hoffman. The rest of the field getting ready to go racing. Now, of course, once we see all the cars line up, the lights will go green and the engines will build. One car doesn't go at the back, but at the front, Honka leads them on that charge into turn number 1. He'll sweep his way down the hill and really maximize the track as they work their way through. A car shortcuts. Honka has to get onto the brakes and recognize it. Believe that would be Greg Johnson. And now a traffic jam forming through the very tight middle sector. Dane, as Ollie Honka gets turned into the wall.
Oh, and probably causing a roadblock as well. It's so difficult to get these cars to change direction on the dirt as it is, especially if you're trying not to slam into the car in front of you. No slowdown, clearly, for the number 64 out in front now, so that is out of the question, but surely there's got to be some kind of penalty for that. He just sort of cuts right here. You can see on the right-hand side of the screen there, and well, that's the exact opposite this time through turn 2 for Johnson. Very intriguing first lap.
So maybe we can grab a replay of what happened, because I get the feeling that Johnson maybe not doing that willingly, I think is the right way to put it. And it is a tight turn 1 complex. You were seeing how much Honka was sweeping down the hill, as now going around and around. It's that Hector Sierra, as through the final corner, Greg Johnson has had an issue of his own. My word, chaos here at RX2 at Knockhill to start things off. It's almost like the week off has allowed some of the drivers to forget that this is Rallycross.
I think I'm starting to remember why I enjoyed Knockhill last season so much.
Gotcha.
The
okay.
unpredictability.
So replay now. Oh, yes, here we go all the way at the start. One car just totally not going at all, and that caused him to get run into. 3 wide for a moment. Fiesta sent it. Ooh, Johnson now, I'm not sure if there was contact or if he mounted the curve a little bit too much, but parks it in front of Honka.
I mean, it was a fantastic driving to keep that going in the right direction and really make the most of a not very good situation. There's a lot of things you can hit on the inside of turn 2. So really good job. Unfortunately, it wasn't to last, as the 64 is stuck on pit road at the moment, which is not where you tend to want to find your rallycross cars, especially not in just a 5-lap race.
No, definitely not. Lap times here about 38 odd seconds if you're looking good, as we found out in qualifying. Maybe not pushing all the way to the limit. Dubois battling with Winicki. This not for a transfer spot, because we are only going to get 2 that advance their way onto the feature out of this one, so that looks pretty solid in the hands of Linden, Sierra in the 333 and the 23. 1 more lap to go as across the line at the front, white flag in hand for Matthew Lind, as he has a 4-second buffer behind and no damage on his car as well.
Yeah, somehow. That's all I'm going to say. There was a whole lot of wrecking going on over the last couple laps, and yeah, keeping well out of it for the 333. Obviously not taking to the Joker on the last lap. Almost all of the drivers. I'm not sure if Hoffman is still on the circuit, but I know that a couple of the drivers that still haven't taken their Joker out of the race. But very, very clean looking Subaru crossing the line.
Yeah, Lind went out in the last chance qualifiers 2 weeks ago. This time, he'll make his way straight to the feature and line up at the very front of it. Great opportunity for some solid points on the board here in round number 2. Joining him will be Hector Sierra, but missing out will be Winicki, getting in front of Kirtley at the very end. A handful of others getting their opportunity in the last chance qualifier. Still 3 heats this week, as we did have in round 1 of the championship. Just 2 advancing this time through. Here's confirmation of those race results, and just look at the margins and look at how some finished multiple laps down. It was a physical tussle out on track, to say the very least, and that's what we're in for over the course of the rest of the afternoon/evening. It's going to be a tough one for Dane and mine, our voices. It's going to be Istvan Tietz on the front row with Matthew Morris alongside Teal and Royer. Row 2 with Whitner and Slow sharing row number 3. Behind them, it's going to be James Donahue along with Hex Valentine, Kagan Spark and Jordan Brockhill. Rounding out our 10 cars, ready to go once again. Crazy run through heat number 1 on that blast to turn 1. Hopefully, all the cars get off the line a little bit more safely here, Dane.
Yep, and it is a 2x2x2x2, but they are staggered a bit at the start, so it does encourage 3 and 4 wide into turn 1.
So here we go, once again with the field formed, ready to blast here at Knockhill. Physical in heat 1, great start through the field, but heads up driving from some to avoid taking it 3 wide. Side by side through the front, but it is going to be at the very front, running very, very wide. Matthew Morris, traffic jam behind, one running into the tyre barriers. It's allowing a huge breakaway from your pole position, Sitter Istvan Tietz, as he breaks away at the front. But my word, chaos once more.
I think it was Trevor Teal, got a little bit squirrely and just clipped one of the tyre barriers that seem to have made their return into iRacing Rallycross after they were removed in favor of the Blue Turtles a while ago. But yeah, these new white tyre bundles, they don't move at all. They're not like the old blue ones that used to fly about all over the place and be a hazard. These ones just stop your car dead wherever they are, and it can cause some carnage, especially at the beginning of these races.
I was totally not talking about this with our broadcast team for the Porsche Esports Super Cup yesterday in our pre-race whatever you call it, gathering, as we're all teasing each other and getting ready to going. Those tire bundles that moved, they were deadly. I think it's the best way to describe them.
They have a special place in our heart there.
Yeah, not many disappointed that we don't have them anymore. Most drivers not taking to the Joker, but at least one driver sweeping their way through on now and wrapping their way to the line as Whitner in that 75 car ducks his way on through. Trying to see the margin up to your second place driver. Still holds at about 2.5 seconds, so within Joker range, I'd say, is Whitner on Royer. So potential to try and scramble his way into this fight for the transfer spot, which runs its way to the final sector.
It's so tricky to get through those tire barriers. As I said earlier, getting these cars turned on the dirt is incredibly difficult. So trying to fling the car between two barriers that you know will not move if you touch them. Yeah, it is a very tricky end to that dirt section. And this is a very tricky turn one as well, because you lose all ability to turn the car about halfway through it, because you go over a crest and then gravity is pretty much working against you. You're almost lifting up off the ground, similar to Radion, the top of Radion, except these Rallycross cars, it's just massively over-exaggerated with the very free suspension that they have a little bit of contact in the dirt section here.
Not ideal. Whitner losing some time behind Morris and allowing potentially Royer and Spark to be safe once they take to the Joker. Don't think they have done so just yet as we get to the final lap of this race. Still, your front three, interestingly, yet to Joker here, Dane.
They haven't caught the trick yet. They haven't figured out. Guys, if you're going to watch back your race after this one and heading into the next round of races, you don't want to be taking your Joker on the last lap. It's costing you time, guys.
It is costing them, but we'll see how it plays out in that fight for the second and final transfer spot. Front of the field, though, and sliding their way directly to the feature should be Esteban Tietz. For the first time this season, he makes his way to the feature behind. Scramble for second is going to see Whitner break through at the line in front of Royer and then in front of Morris. So just like we've been talking about, try and get your Joker done. The Joker Delta then, at least on the run to the line, seems to be right on around 3.5 seconds. So that's good for us to know moving forward, Dane.
Yeah, it definitely is. Haven't had the ability to go and test that, so had to sort of do it on the fly. But yeah, knowing that Joker Delta is always incredibly helpful. But yeah, it wasn't as close as I thought it was going to be, but it has just reminded me, watching those Joker Deltas, that the Joker exit kind of puts you straight into the racing line with zero warning to anybody else, very similar to what we see in Atlanta. So it can cause some incidents. It hasn't so far as I'm aware.
Let's take a look at the starting grid very quickly then. Miko Lijek at the very front. Winkler, Howell, Shell, Crew, Grady through the top 6. Behind them, Burke, Young, Baldwin, and McFarlane. Lots of work for Baldwin to do. Our pole position winner a week ago, but the cars are already lined up and ready to go racing for the third and final heat of RX2 competition. Engines will begin to build and rev once again. 2 more spots in the feature on the line. Who's going to be able to survive the scramble to turn number 1? Poor reaction there from Howell. He's going to slide his way backwards, but the front row lockstep as they dive into the braking zone. Over the curb aggressively, Miko Lijek allows Winkler to slide through to the race lead. Once again, chaos with those tire barriers. Slow there is going to be Miko Lijek trying to avoid running into the rejoining Tom Grady. Front of the field, sees Sean Winkler trying to scamper away.
Stage off from race 1 again. We've got another driver suddenly appearing in front of the front runners after taking an interesting line through turn 1. I wonder if anyone's going to be taking to the Joker first time by. I don't think, actually. I think because the start line's here and the grid is here, I'm not sure if they can take the Joker on the first time past.
That's a good point, actually. It's like it's the same thing in a handful of other tracks like Barcelona, which is always fun in the IRX All-Star Series, and we have plenty of drivers that try and take the Joker on the quote-unquote opening lap, only to find that it did not work, and they've got to come back and do it again. Once more chaos on the start, though. Curious how the LCQs are going to go, especially knowing what will be on the line there. Lap 2, going to see at least one down to the Joker. on the brakes aggressively is going to be the 177 of Miko Elijah, and now trying to maybe take advantage of Winkler coming to the line. Got to watch the rejoin though. Almost runs into Tyler Shell.
Coming back through turn 1. Oh, it's a little bit deep there, and is that going to allow a car up the inside? No, just a bit too far back, but staying nice and close to the inside on that concrete strip. And we've had confirmation from a couple of people now, a couple of drivers all answering me at once in the Discord channel. Joker is not allowed on lap 1, so it is that rule where if you do not cross the start finish line, you cannot take the Joker until you do. So the start finish line is just behind the starting grids, as it is in a couple of places. So I think it's Daytona and Sonoma as well, other circuits where it's the same rule.
Of course, Tyler Shell, dirt oval driver, coming over to the Rallycross world here, the iRacing World of Outlaws CarQuest Sprint Car Champion. That's a mouthful of a championship. Yeah, no, there are a few of them. IMSA Esports Michelin Global Championship, and you always have to refer to it as that, by the way, is a mouthful to try and say repetitively. I got used to that one though, so now, you know, it apparently rolls off the tongue. Winkler's gone to the Joker this time by, I do believe, so we're going to watch him and Miko Lijek on the merge as the white flag in hand, but with the overspeed, Winkler powers his way back to the front.
And there you can see very clearly they were almost level coming across the line, and the difference between them when they reached turn 1. That's what you're missing out on if you take your Joker on the last lap. So that's why you're...
We had another car into the tire bundles, I do believe, and look at the damage on the front end of Dylan Baldwin's car. These cars fighting for positions effectively in the last chance qualifier, because in front of them and wrapping towards the final corner, it's going to be Sean Winkler and Miko Lijek, who will sweep their way through to the feature race. Baldwin and Grady still have a fun little fight to the line. Excuse me, that's Miko Lijek and Baldwin having the fight to the line. Got myself all sorts of confused with the paints.
Yeah, lots of teammates in that race, making our lives a little bit more difficult.
Oh, no, sometimes it's just commentators being silly. This is why I say to your friends in the Apex Racing team that they've got to help us with their colors sometimes, because commentators are not the most intelligent. Live in case of that last race. Winkler and Miko Lijek, they will advance their way on through, though. Baldwin, Grady, Shell, Crew, Howell, McFarlane, Young, and Burke. The rest of the cars who will work their way through to one of 2 last chance qualifiers, where just 1 will make it through, if I can read. No, 3 will make it through, correction. So plenty of opportunities actually in this race. Still have a spot in what's going to be a 12 car feature. Winnicki, Baldwin, Morris, Honka, the front 2 rows with Shell and Valentine. Behind them, it's going to be Hoffman, Howell, Slow, Vermont, Young, and Teal. The 12 cars out on the grid as we get ready to go. 12 cars, 3 spots, Dane. It's going to be aggressive once again on that run down to turn 1.
Yeah, more spots but fewer opportunities left. This is the last chance for these drivers, so very often it does end in chaos, and well, it's a track that sort of encourages chaos.
Third time we've come to Knock Hill for Racecraft Rallycross action. Opportunities for some to work their way through. Great start from Honka on the outside of the front row. He'll jump the Team Watson racing car as they blast off of the line. 3 wide though, and Honka has to compromise. Great slide through into second from Tyler Shell, using the experience. They bottleneck up behind, but they get through without anyone running into the tire bundles. Front of the field though, Dylan Baldwin builds an advantage.
No one in the tire bundles, and everybody facing the right direction. Have I just cursed that? Oh, there's a car upside down and flying through the air in the background. I can't quite see who that was.
Kenny Hoffman. It was Kenny Hoffman that went up and around, but he wasn't the only one. Just as you said it, I think Cody Winnicki had an issue as well. So true, commentators curse. They did play some bumper cars, if we're being honest, but then through the middle sector when it gets tight, let's see what happens, Dane.
So they're going side by side. Oh, that's another car rolling off in the distance as well into the black tires, and then oh wow, what?
So this is where I have to ask: did we get our flip counter from 2 weeks ago? Because it's already proving like it might come in handy. Oh my days! I think Shell almost rammed himself off of the wall, and now there we go. 3 cars in this race alone with 2 laps complete. have managed to find themselves going up and over. Get that flip counter out, that's for sure. Honka from Slough, Baldwin, Howell, Valentine though with 3 laps still left to go. Only Baldwin has taken to the Joker, and of course he sits in a great spot to grab the top spot in this last chance qualifier, which means better starting position once we get to the feature.
Terrible, terrible news that we have no flip counter. We need to get that. We need to get that. We need to get that
next week. Daytona.
Oh, it's so sketchy through that part of the circuit. And into the Joker, you can see the speed that they carry through what normally is the braking zone. That causes some issues as well. It does so at Sonoma as well, as we found out many, many times, Arjuna. And that is the overspeed coming out of the Joker. It is hilarious to watch.
And that is the fight for the final transfer position right now. Ollie Honka might still be slid back into this one, but it is going to be between the two Subarus, the 99 and the 666, as they wind themselves up with 2 laps left to go. I think we should see Honka in this time by, surely, to grab his Joker.
No.
In fact, as we say that, no. And this is going to compromise him on the final lap.
This is much bigger than it might look, because it's not a massive gap, and just made it a little bit worse. Just a little bit.
It is 6 seconds or so, so I think he should be about all right, but yeah, there's something to keep in mind moving forward, especially heading into RX1, where I get the sense that if this is what we've had with RX2, it's only gonna start getting a little bit more tumultuous with the RX1 drivers, who have a smaller incident limit as well. There goes the 74 car down to that Joker, sweeps his way through what is the traditional final corner here at Knockhill. Baldwin's already blasted his way through though, comes his way towards the line. Honka's gonna be clear of Howell and Slough as the 99 momentarily drops down the timing order, but gets restored to his position in the feature as he advances as the final car out of last chance qualifier number 1. Grab a look at the results. Only a handful actually make it to the line here. 12 started, 6 will finish. Baldwin, Honka, and Slough on through. It's Howell, Valentine, Young, Shell, Vermont, Teal, Winicki, as well as Hoffman and Teal that we say goodbye to early in the afternoon here today. But with one last chance qualifier done, we get set to go racing for the second of these LCQs with 3 more spots in the feature on the line. Let's see at how they will line themselves up. It will be Trevor Royer and Robbie Kirtley on the front row, with Grady and Spark, row 2, Dubois and Crew lining up in 5th and 6th. Behind them, it's going to be Brockle, Johnson, McFarlane, Donahue, Solch, and Burke, the 12 cars fighting over what are just 3 final spots in the feature. Another action-packed race there, Dane. I mean, surely it only gets more physical from here, as we learned 2 weeks ago.
Yep, LCQ2 is where it's at, and that is just a fact of Rallycross heat racing. Still playing the games, I see the drivers. It seems to just be a Rallycross thing. I've never experienced this anywhere else. The later that you grid up, the better, and I don't know why that is, but it's like a game. It's
I'm not
a game
complaining.
I've never won.
It gives me time to read the grid, Dane.
It's true.
Here we go. 3 more spots in the feature on the line here in Knockhill. A good start from Royer, but instantly contact. Grady to the race lead, but leaving chaos in his wake. He'll run us down in towards turn number 1. But my word, 12 started, maybe 6, getting into turn 2.
And that is a lot of drivers' hopes and dreams for this last chance qualifier. For now, at least over, and McFarlane's into the black barriers. We've seen those turn drivers over. I think we just missed it again, as there's a car going wide as well in the background, but now through the last couple of corners they'll go, and it's a very tricky uphill blind sequence of corners this, and then you've got that blue barrier, the pit wall, to watch out for on the exit as well. But heading through these few corners, nobody taking to the Joker on the first lap. Of course, you're not allowed to do it.
Our unofficial flip counter, sponsored by Pickle Teal, is at 9 so far today. Just so you're aware, we'll keep you up to date.
I think that's just Trevor's flips.
Yes, yes, fair enough. So we're probably a lot higher than that, let's be honest. Royer does not take to the Joker, and he's got the clean air, so not surprised. It's Spark trying to put some pressure onto Grady, though, as they work their way on through. They've got some separation now behind as well, as I think the battles for about 5th on back have gotten increasingly physical. Down the hill, Spark, bump and run to the back of Tom Grady.
Beautiful. That's a Rallycross move right there. You've got the concrete on the inside, the dirt on the outside. Hello, you can have some dirt, is what Spark says, and takes that second position. And it was a very small tap, but it was just enough to put Grady on the dirt. And, well, once you're on the dirt, you've not really have a defense. That is a little bit too hot into the final couple of corners. Grady goes down into the Joker.
Yeah, this is what the Legion Speed Sport car would have wanted to see, is the fact that Spark had the issue, and now Grady gets up in front of Kirtley in that 24, that Ford Fiesta. There's the 95, the red and black of Spark. Trying to now chase back down a bit odd seconds to your race leader, Trevor Royer, in control of one of 3 transfer spots. Will come to 1 lap to go, and so we'd expect those that have not yet Jokered to come on to the Joker this time by. Currently one of those, and he's in that precarious position of knowing that he's going to see Grady take the regular course, and he's got to take avoiding action to try and not get on the brakes too early. Final lap underway. Grady emerges just behind Royer, who has taken to the Joker, but it is going to be Kagan Sparks that gambles to try and not take the Joker, and will take it on the final lap.
Had that mistake as well, so that was whilst Grady was in the Joker, so this could be a little bit sketchy. Was that a car?
Was it a car?
What was it a car?
I think it may have been a car. May have been
car?
Eric Dubois, I think, in that silverish and green machine. Lock up there from both of those at the front. Spark and Royer drag racing to the line, and almost contact, but Kagan Spark able to time the Joker well, did have a big enough advantage to be able to run himself to the line and grab the best starting spot that he could. He'll advance along with Royer and Grady, but we can finally take a bit of a break with the RX2 drivers now getting set for their feature event. 10 laps, 12 drivers, 1 winner. But here's results for last chance qualifier number 2. Spark, Royer and Grady split by 1.5 seconds, and that's the order in which they'll line up at the very back of the feature field as well. Greg Johnson, Robbie Kirtley, Don Crew, James Burke, Evan McFarlane, and then Eric Dubois, James Donahue as well. That's 2 more at the back of the field that will round up the results of that one. Dane, our flip counter rises, our voices strained. Get ready for what's going to be, I think, an interesting feature event. Of course, all predicated, I should say, on getting through the start cleanly.
Yeah, which, as we've seen, has not been an easy feat for anybody. It doesn't matter if you're right at the front. It doesn't matter if you're right at the back. It is not an easy feat to get through any part of the circuit seemingly cleanly. I wonder if it's a combination of a lot of new drivers to Rallycross, maybe not being so used to having the 4 wide essentially grid at the beginning. It is a very terrifying experience if you've not done stuff like this before, especially going into Knockhill, where it tightens up so much at turn 2. But we saw some good racing there as well, and on-track racing, which is not something you see very often in Rallycross, but this circuit does allow for that a little bit.
I'm curious how much of that racing is going to actually carry forward when we get to the RX1 drivers a little bit later on, especially with the open setups that those drivers are going to have. Middle sector has proven to take its fair share of victims already so far. The tire bundles are definitely inviting and will suck you in if you make the mistakes, as a handful of drivers found out. But now I think it's going to be important. We double the distance of the race from 5 laps up to 10 laps. You've got to survive the start and then make sure you're in the right place at the right time. And I don't think, hopefully, fingers crossed, anybody is going to take the Joker on the final lap of this race.
Well, you've got 9 laps to do it, because you can't take it on lap 1.
8,
and you shouldn't take it on lap 10.
Yes, so 8 laps.
So you've got 8 chances to not get it wrong.
I don't know. It feels like we're still going to get someone that takes it on that final lap. Warm-up comes to an end, though. That final chance for drivers to get themselves acclimatized to the track. We're ready to go racing here. Round 2 of Rallycross 2. Racecraft Rallycross returns. Let's take a look at how they'll line up. Matthew Lind at the front with Istvan Tietz alongside. Winkler and Sierra share row 2 with Whitner and Miko Lajic. Row 3, those are the drivers that worked their way through directly from the heat races. Baldwin, Spark, Honker, Royer, Slough, and Grady, the rest of the 12-car field. Ready to go once again with the engines roaring at Knock Hill, with 12 cars running down into turn number 1. It's a great start from Matthew Lind, but already a bit of contact as they run themselves 3 and 4 wide down the hill, spinning in the mid-pack, but safely through at the front. They are victims of the tire bundles, both from second as well as further back, but clear at the front of the 333, but with a chasing Ford Fiesta behind.
Yeah, it's pretty much a dream scenario.
There's more bumper cars. Sorry to cut you off. Yeah, the middle sector has claimed yet more victims. We check on in with Dylan Baldwin, last week's winner, as he fails to use the relative. And there's the chaos. Talk us through all of it.
Well, what is there to say? Bump, 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 and then another bump, and then another bump. And yeah, it is absolute chaos, and you can see the dust being kicked up as well. There's drivers bouncing off the walls, and that's what happens. Baldwin just gets caught by one of those drivers. These tire barriers, they are bouncy. They really are bouncy. That's why drivers are flipping from them. So yeah, there's a lot of bouncing going on. That one, yeah, you can use your relative. It's there. It's there. Oh wow.
Oh wow.
We just caught the end of that.
Yeah, well, Dylan Baldwin, winner in week 1, guaranteed now a new winner in week number 2. It's still, though, at the front of the field, no one using their Joker. Only Kagan Spark in that 95 has used the Joker so far. Lynn still rather feeling some pressure at the front. Sean Winkler's inserted himself into the equation as well. And after his podium 2 weeks ago, I tell you what, Sean Winkler is not here to play.
No, absolutely not. Trying to get more of that podium, maybe try and improve on the position a little bit. The car in front goes to the Joker, probably put him off a little bit deep in the braking zone, but I think did keep it going the right direction at least.
Lind went as well. He almost ran into the back, I think, of some lap traffic, so maybe for Sean Winkler an opportunity here to try and use the next 4 or so laps to build up a bit of an advantage, to allow him to Joker and maybe still grab the race lead. You can just see, though, it's not that big, the margin back to that 333.
The line by Lindy through the first couple of corners was like pixel perfect. It was absolutely incredible. I think maybe tapped one of the tire barriers on the way through, but that was amazing. And oh, we love to see this. Drivers, if you have the ability to do something like this, show us cameras of any kind. Garrett Maines has got like 7 of them, but this we love.
We did tell Garrett that we need all the cameras, didn't we?
Yes.
When we chatted with him. Hector Sierra riding with virtual reality as well. These short rallycross races, one of the few world championships where we did actually see drivers take to that virtual headset, so always good to see. I always talk about as well with when it comes to this Cam Peterson, who ran not only virtual reality but with motion in the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series. That is definitely an experience. Now Matthew Lind has had an issue, and from the front he's dropped down back to the pit lane, I do believe. And so now Sean Winkler maybe one step closer to a race victory for the 3rd season that he's participated in Racecraft Rallycross. We'll take a look at more troubles through the middle sector.
So through the dirt, left-hander, that looks good. Right-hander now through here, a little bit sideways. Loving life at the moment. Is it this tire barrier here? No, it's not. So what has gone on here? Through the Joker. Spins a little bit of a handbrake action there coming out of here. Oh, is it a collision right here? No, it's not. So
well, no, this seems to be the replay of when he jokered back on lap 2. Not sure. May have blown an engine from some indications, so we'll see if we can get an update on that. Now, front of the field, Winkler still yet to pit, rather yet to Joker. 4 seconds his margin back to that number 2 machine. Slough and Miko Lajic somewhat comfortable in 3rd and 4th position, so really now it's all our attention on 1 and 2 and exactly how it's going to play itself out. Winkler has gone to Joker this time by, though. Where's the Ford Fiesta in relation through the final corner? But Winkler with the overspeed going to be right back on the offense.
And that's what you got to be thinking, but it's not going to present the opportunity just yet. Plenty of time still, though, to try and make something happen. And for a mistake, it is a tricky circuit. It really is just a tricky circuit. So Teach still has a lot of work to do to get this one home. Plenty of tire barriers that cannot wait to end your day. And through the double right hand, and now very narrowly avoids the one on the outside of the final couple of corners.
Oh my word.
Taking all of the road and more on the exit of the final corner as well.
2 laps to go. Ford Fiesta at the very front of the field up against a sea of Subarus. Just the sole Fiesta that made it through to the feature. And now just 1.5 laps to go to hold on for what will be an impressive race victory. Surviving here at Knockhill is no mean feat. Through the final corner, coming to the white flag with some traffic in front in the form of Hector Sierra. White flag in hand though, 1 lap to go, Winkler dropping back.
Have you noticed, Dodgino, there's 2 Barneys on Knockhill?
Oh, are there?
There's one at the very beginning of like where the finish line is, and then there's one at the end of the pit wall as well. There's 2 of them. I'm not sure why, I've not seen that before, but
I guess because one starts the race, one finishes the race. I don't know.
Yeah, possibly.
Possibly. That sounds like some sim racer logic right there, if we're being honest. Been an interesting RX2 race so far here today. Through the final corner. Chaotic, but at the front and calm. Easterman Teets grabs the victory. Ahead of Sean Winkler, with Brandon Slow rounding off our podium spots. My word. Those heats really did turn into a bit of a bare knuckle brawl at times. And once again, with 12 cars starting that feature event, only 7 will end up seeing the checkered flag. A testament to what a tricky challenge Knockhill truly is, Dane.
Yep, and I feel like we're going to see something fairly similar in RX1. I think it is just the nature of the circuit that it is a very, very tricky circuit, especially when you throw a bunch of other cars around you. I think a lot of the drivers, you tell them to do 10 laps on their own and they're going to struggle a lot of the time to make that happen. So yeah, it is the nature of the circuit, but it does provide some very unpredictable results, and that is always a good thing.
He scored 0 points last week, but he grabs the victory. Last time out, rather. He grabs the victory this time, does the number 2. Winkler, Slough. The other 2 podium sitters with Miko Lijic, Royer, Grady, Honker, Whitner, Sierra Jr., and Lind, the rest of the top 10. Lind will be somewhat frustrated after starting at the very front. Spark and Baldwin complete the 12 that made it through to the feature here, and we'll look to regroup at Daytona in 1 week's time. We'll grab a quick chat with some of our podium if we can, and I tell you what, don't see our race winner standing by, so instead I'll leave Dane Baird to chat with Sean Winkler. Podium once again here today.
Well, Sean, welcome back to the interview booth, and you've improved. You've improved from the last time out, so that is a very, very positive result for you. Quickly, just give us a word on how tricky of a circuit it is, as a lot of the drivers displayed today. It is a very tricky beast.
I don't think there's any words I could say that could demonstrate in this session what it was like to be out there. I mean, it's wild and it's bumpy and it's technical and you have to hit everything right or else your day's over so fast, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And surviving the start of the races was key. How did you manage that? Did you have a specific strategy or did you just sort of wing it?
I just kept saying to myself, don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die. And this time it worked. So I don't know if it was some kind of positive affirmation thing or what, but we held on to it and we kept it together. Yeah.
Fantastic. And improving your race result from last time out at Phoenix should feel pretty good, I would imagine. Looks like you might be one of the championship protagonists this season. Is it too early to say that, or you think is definitely what you're looking for?
Yeah, great question. I mean, we're just trying to take this one race at a time, and if we can put enough together, then hopefully we can finish towards the top. Otherwise, we're just out here having fun and racing with each other.
And of course, just a quick word, Sonoma is being moved to the final round of the calendar. Any thoughts on that?
That's okay with me. I don't care how they come. I just want to get them all under my belt and see how it all shakes out at the end.
Fantastic. Well, Sean, thank you very much for joining us here on Racecraft TV. Anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to after today's race?
Yeah, hey, Racecraft Academy here for putting this stuff together. You guys, Racecraft, for putting it on. You guys do a great job with the show. VRS, SimSeats, all the friends that helped me race this thing. Josh Edmondson, all these fast guys. It's fun to be around them, and they help me out.
Well, fantastic. Thank you very much, Sean. We will see you next time out. Very good performance there. Second in the feature race. We now move on to Brandon Slough. Brandon, welcome along. Pretty decent result for you there. Knockhill, a very, very tricky circuit. Just talk us through your race and what it means to you to get that podium.
Yeah, really my goal was just to stay patient. I knew it was going to be a little chaos going into turn 1 and 2. So I was just trying to stay patient and try to avoid as much as I could. And after I did that, and I saw I was top 5, I was like, I got this.
Well, fantastic. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. Anyone you'd like to quickly shout out before we move on to the RX1 drivers?
Yeah, I would like to shout out Next Level Racing and Regiment Gaming for all those service members out there.
Well, thank you very much, and hopefully we'll see you back up here in the interview booth over the next couple of rounds as well. Good luck for the next one, and we'll hope to see you back here very soon.
Thank you.
Always great to hear from the drivers, Arjuna, and we've got RX1 action coming up very shortly.
Yeah, it was crazy with RX2, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on Racecraft TV with the RX1 drivers ready to go to do more battling here at Knockhill.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Racecraft TV as we get ready for the RX1 drivers to race for round 2 of their season. Of course, with Sonoma now moved to the end, it's Knockhill that plays host to the second stage of 2023 Season 1. We'll grab a quick look at the points as well because the drivers are already done with qualifying and ready to go racing. It is, of course, our defending champion that has a slender 2-point advantage. Jacob Rafoss in front of Josh Fox, but Mains and Abedi tied on 20 points will be looking to try and close their way on through as well. Let's take a look, though, at how they'll start with qualifying done and dusted. Heat number 1 already ready to rumble. And after a great qualifying performance 2 weeks ago out of Josh Fox, he does it once again. Pole position and starting us at the front of heat number 1. He's got Josh Edmondson for company with Mains, Pakala, Heiskanen, Larill starting on the front 3 rows. Behind them, Carson McKenna, our RX2 champion from 2022 Season 2, along with Cody Winicki, will line up through the field of Heat 1 machines about 20 seconds before we go racing. Dane, what do we have in store for us with Fox looking to take the charge to Rafoss?
Yeah, well, qualifying performances like that will always help, of course. You earn points in qualifying, and it's based on overall, of course. So, yeah, getting these pole positions is incredibly important, getting those extra points where you can.
They're ready to go racing, and Garrett Mains is going to give us the multi-cam view that we all were asking for. Josh Fox quick in qualifying once again, but now ready to go racing here at Knockhill. Great start further back in the field, but Fox able to lead on the charge to turn number 1. They'll sweep their way down the hill over the curb at turn 1, onto the brakes, and then sweeping just to the left-hand side of those tire barriers. We get through safely. Great start from Fox, who leads from Edmondson and Mains. Heiskanen jumps in front of Pakala, but no changes outside of that.
Yeah, Pakala just got stuck on the outside on the dirt through turn 2. Nothing you can do about that. Just get filtered back through the pack. Nobody taking to the Joker, hopefully, on this first lap. Of course, it is not allowed, so wouldn't expect any of our RX1 drivers to be making that mistake. Mains keeping it nice and close up at the front as well, which is always good to see, but a really cautious but very clean and good start from the drivers here for this opening heat.
And look at this, we get the head cam view with Garrett Mains as well, usually reserved for his Twitch channel. Almost runs into the back of the Next Level Racing Nitro Circus machine of Josh Edmondson as they slip and slide their way over the bumps through that second middle sector on the track. We'll get to watch the dance on the pedals as well. Looking forward to that as the Ford Fiesta tries to take the fight. A couple of cars shoot their way off to the Joker. That was Pakala as well as Larill, I do believe. So they'll cycle their way out in 7th and 8th positions with 3 laps still left to go. But Fox at the front looking comfortable. Now 1.5 seconds clear of this tussle for second.
Yeah, perfect start for Josh Fox out in front. Edmondson and Mains still going on in this little battle. It'll be interesting to see when they do decide to joker. Of course, when you're jokering on a long lap, you do have to worry about the cars behind you, where you're going to end up. The last thing you want to do is take the joker and end up stuck behind a car that was behind you, because normally they're a bit slower, and that's just going to hold you up as the driver that you were behind.
Oh! Mains Jokers in the Smithfield Ford Fiesta run straight into the back of Carson McKenna, and the RX2 champion is off and into the wall. Mains with significant damage as well, and it's almost like, Dane, you were talking about exactly a dangerous situation like that.
You don't want a joker at Knockhill when this car's about 3 seconds behind, and that is exactly why. But they come out of nowhere, and there's no chance for either party to see those cars coming. So you can't really react until it's already happened, and by then it's too late. You saw me slam on the brakes and try and swerve to the right-hand side. It wasn't enough.
Well, we'll take a look at our Racecraft TV replay here, and no time to react. And McKenna into the pit entry, Mains into the wall. He's in 4th position behind now Heiskanen as well, with all the jokers now cycled through. Fox, Edmondson looking good to advance. The rest of those behind will have to fight through what might be some rather chaotic last chance qualifiers. Josh Fox, pole position and Heat 1 victory once again. 2 rounds on the bounce. He'll advance along with Edmondson. Heiskanen, Mains, Pakala, Larill, Winicki, McKenna all got some work still left to do as we'll grab confirmation of our Heat RX1 results. It's always fast and frenetic here. It feels like we're in for one roller coaster of an RX1 round. There's the look at those results. Only 2 seconds splitting the two Joshes at the line. But with Heat 1 now done and dusted, Heat 2 already getting ready to grid up and launch themselves into that short blast to turn number 1. It's our champion, Jacob Rafos, and the points leader. That will line up at the very front alongside Joni Palaneva. Happy birthday to Joni Palaneva, looking for a perfect birthday gift as well, while Josh Clogg and Brian Sawyer, row number 2. Adam Alderton won at Knockhill last time we were here with Steve and Anton Jonsson, and then Daniel Aish through the 8 cars getting ready to go once again. Plenty of Fords in the field with 3 rows of our grid lined up and already ready to go. The final member of the grid dropping down. The lights will begin to illuminate and the drivers will get set on Heat 2 here for Racecraft Rallycross at Knockhill. Not such a great start from the final row of the grid, but Rafos challenged by Palaneva on that run down to that right-hand sweeper. Palaneva gets some contact from Josh Clogg, and they're around and losing all amounts of time. Clogg off into the tires as well. Rafos clear at the front though, is sliding up to second is Adam Alderton from 5th to 2nd.
And those keen viewers of Racecraft Rallycross will remember exactly what happened between Rafos and Alderton many times last season, but more specifically at Knockhill. Alderton taking the victory, but not after some contact and a little bit of revenge for what happened a couple of races prior there in Barcelona. So there is a bit of history between these two. Very good mates, but on the track, it does get a little bit feisty.
We look with Alderton as through that opening complex they work. Curious to see if anyone will take to the Joker this time by. Of course, we've talked plenty about not wanting to Joker on the very final lap of the race. Those at the front, curious to see when they think there's some clean air. Of course, the opportunity for the likes of Ange Jonsson to try and put the pressure on the front two to run as perfect as they can. And indeed, we'll see 4 cars rather take to the Joker as we sweep onto the 3rd of 5 laps.
It's really risky in the opening couple of laps. So if you look at lap 2, you've more likely got cars that will be coming through with a regular loop, and that just asks for a situation like we saw with Mains and McKenna in the last race. So you really want to be avoiding taking it as early as you can, especially when the field is so bunched up. So when the starts are clean, it makes it very difficult for those at the front to actually find a window to take the Joker.
Yeah, there's the death stare of the young Jacob Rafos as he's hyper fixated on the task at hand. He's never actually won here at Knockhill in Racecraft RX, was 3rd back in season 2, and then 10th last time we were here a handful of months ago. So Rafos looking to try and bounce back onto the podium. Alderton won in front of Sindre Silva and Josh Edmondson last time we were here. You're curious on the form book from the previous season. We'll come to the white flag, and I think the front 4 will all Joker without much drama. Rafos, Alderton, Clogg, all able to cycle their way on through. Sawyer's now going to, in fact, be embroiled in a brawl across the line. Smoke flies, cars go tumbling, more chaos at Knockhill.
And the position of that makes me feel like that's another Joker merge happening there. It's it is such a tricky one. It is such a tricky one. It's very similar to Atlanta. The drivers seem to have figured out Atlanta. They sort of know the deltas that they need to not Joker during, but not just yet at Knockhill.
Front of the field, Rafos back to the front of his heat and will advance to challenge Josh Fox for the victory in the feature. Alderton sticking close behind as he looks to go back-to-back here at this track. Those are the 2 that advance, the rest working to one of our last chance qualifiers to grab one of the 12 grid spots available in the race, although I think now for this one it is in fact down to 10, so only 1 grid spot available in each of the races. There's a look at those results. 1.2 splitting Rafos from Alderton, the 27 piling the pressure all the way till the very end. Now a look at Tau. They'll line up for Heat 3. Great to have in the field today, Jarno Leskinen, one of the youngest iRacing World Championship winners. He'll have Marcos Palacio, Toby Ward, and Alexander Abedi for company on those front 2 rows. Christian Lindo, Russell Peterson, 5th and 6th, with Alexander Potit rounding out the 7 cars, getting ready to go here. Josh Fox has some backup now for Williams Esports in the form of young Leskinen here now, Dane.
Yep, they do seem to like approaching some talents to the Williams Esports team, especially in the Rallycross scene, and that's a really great addition to this grid as well.
You can see those new sponsors on the side of the Williams Esports car, Gulf, Duracell, just adding to the colors that we've come to love. Away we go, and Leskinen bogged down on the start, and Abedi goes all the way to the very front. Down the hill, Leskinen trying to hold on now to 2nd position, almost tags the back of Abedi as they work their way through the opening complex. What a start from Alexander Abedi, leading Leskinen, Christian Rafos and Palacio, the front 4 through the middle sector.
Going to turn 1, it was a full car length between Abedi and the rest of the field, and tell me that car started on row 2, I would be very surprised, and that is not the line through the final couple of corners.
Abedi with issues too. Christian Lindo goes to the lead of the race, started in 5th, but crosses the line as your race leader with Palacio in the 2nd of your transfer positions. Leskinen with more issues through the final corner, and my word, this race proves just why Rallycross can be so dramatic.
Short, unpredictable races. That is the name of the game. The clouds cover up everything. This is sort of what we should have been seeing the entire time. It is Scotland after all. But yeah, a couple of issues for the leading drivers up at the front. And now we see some drivers. I think that's Palacio has gone all the way to the back into the Joker. It is, and will come out cleanly, which is what I always love to see.
He's the only one so far to have done so, and he's still in front of Jarno Leskinen. In fact, Leskinen has jokered this time as well with Peterson and Potit. So 4 jokers in the books, just 3 left to go, both in terms of drivers requiring the joker lap and in terms of laps led in the race. As we jump on board with Russell Peterson, rocking that ultra-wide setup. He's got a handbrake for good measure as well if he ever needs to yank on it and try and get out of trouble. Don't necessarily think this is a track where you want to be using the handbrake. You want to try and be as smooth as possible. Ward is jokered and will slide just in front of Peterson and Potit in that battle now for 5th position. 2 laps to go. Lindo and Abedi owe us a joker and likely will come in this time by.
You would expect them to. Especially these 2 drivers in particular. You would expect them to be coming into the Joker this time by, and that is exactly what Lindo will do at least. So nice and clean through the regular last corner of Knock Hill.
Where is he going to merge as we see Abedi down to the Joker as well? Lindo clear at the front, Palacio in 2nd, and Leskinen was in front of Abedi for a second, but now drops behind. Looks like he's going to have to fight his way through the LCQs as front of the field. We'll see Christian Lindo in that stealth black Ford Fiesta for a Racecraft Academy team, winding his way directly to the feature. He was not the man with the rocket start, rocketed through the drama to grab the lead through the final corner at the end of the opening lap. Lindo and Palacio will advance their way on through. Alexander Abedi chased down by Leskinen. Looking forward to now 5 final laps to try and secure a spot in the feature. The heat races now officially are in the books. Let's take a look at those results and confirm a 2.5 second gap at the very front. Abedi 4.444 behind your race leader. The first of those heading to the last chance qualifiers. iRacing has now confirmed not 1 but 3 advance from these LCQs, just like it was in RX2. And so once again, opportunities abound to try and find a spot at the tail end of the feature. Heiskanen, Abedi, Jonsson, Pakala, Ward and Klog. Front 3 rows in LCQ1 with just 8 in this field, Winnicki and Potit will line up at the very back of the field. 8 cars, 3 spots, 5 go home disappointed, 3 run to the feature. Last chance qualifier, number 1 is green. here at Knock Hill, and once again, Alexander Obedi drops the clutch and gets the whole shot, but is challenged on the plunge down into turn number 1 by Heiskanen. He's able to cover and lead them through. Heiskanen slots in front of Pakalo with Clog, Ward, Jonsson, Potit, and Winnicki all now single file through the middle sector as Pakala goes up and over and through the air, add ourselves a couple more to the flip counter.
The hang time of the car was incredible, but as we watch the rest of the drivers making their way now through the last couple of corners, again, no jokers on the opening lap, so everybody makes their way through the double right at the end of the lap, and Obedi again with a brilliant start. I need to get on Discord and see if I can get a coaching session or something with Obedi, because these starts have been phenomenal.
They are. He just has them figured out, and that's important through the course of the season as well, being able to be consistent with that. Don't forget that these drivers at the front, not just fighting to make their way into the feature, but the order in which they finish here is the order in which they'll line up at the tail end of that feature grid. So first starts a little bit better than second, that starts a little bit better than third, so keep that in mind. Through the Joker, Alexander Potit, maybe a little bit more slideways and drifty than you would want to be, but across the line, now has that Joker ticked off. The only other driver to have done that at the line so far is Anton Jonsson. Heiskanen really, though, on the back of the 99 machine, and just look how bumpy that middle sector is as well.
It reminds me of the Joker lap at Brands Hatch.
Oh,
the Joker lap at Brands Hatch is probably the bumpiest bit of drivable surface on iRacing that actually exists. It's incredible. If you take it slightly too wrong, you just roll the car and flip over the barriers and make your way back onto the regular route. But yeah, it is a really bumpy section of circuit, but it gives it character. It makes it like fun to drive, unlike a lot of the dirt sections of iRacing, which are really flat because they're on ovals.
True. Josh Clog rides in third, still has a good opportunity to make it to the feature because he's got a 6-second buffer back to Toby Ward, who has completed that longer Joker lap that runs to the outside of the final corner, and all three of the 1, 2, 3 transfer positions dive their way on through that longer sequence, this time by Clog in that 199, has some clean air back to Toby Ward, and so across the line, did Toby Ward just self-slap himself into the wall?
That appeared to be the case, yes. I'm not entirely sure what it was. Potentially a driver coming out of the main route that caused avoiding action, but that was a weird one for sure.
Yeah, well, Rallycross is weird at its core, at its best. That's the sport that we've come to love. Last chance qualifier number 1 will be in the books with Obedi, Heiskanen, and Clog slotting into the feature here today. Toby Ward, Anton Jonsson, Potit, Winnicki, and Pakala amongst the field that will unfortunately be watching on for the 10-lap main event, and will look to the World Center of Racing in 7 days' time as their opportunity to try and pick themselves back up. There's confirmation of the results and the top 3 that advance, but already getting ready for the second of our LCQs. And some strong names in this one, and we'll get ready to cut a whole handful of them. Steve Ainge, Garrett Maines, front row with Leskin and Aish on row number 2. Larill and Peterson line up in 5th and 6th positions, with Sawyer, McKenna, and Paloneva amongst the 9 cars that will battle for just 3 positions in the main event. Leskinen and Maines, they will have expected to have worked their way through some means, but now have got to fight in what will be a physical last chance qualifier number 2. Away they go, green flag flies. Maines already with a bit of contact to Ainge as they work 3 wide for third. Down the hill, Leskinen has to compromise and leave a room for Larill, but chaos, and Leskinen works his way through like Moses to grab the lead with Maines hot on his heels.
Saw the gap and sent it, and perfect first couple of corners for Leskinen there to get up into the lead of the race. Maines with a look down the inside and just taps the driver on the outside into the barrier and just caused a whole lot of carnage. But yeah, it is Maines who will follow in second place. One of the many different camera angles that Maines has provided to us on the bottom right corner there.
unfortunately, this is the most boring of them. That's an interesting one. We see the split screen as the elbows get out, and Mains goes to the lead, shoving and barging his way through on Jarno Leskinen, grabbing what would be that one better row in terms of starting spot as they run right now. On lap 2, will anyone go to the Joker, as we now get to see all 3 of the wonderful camera angles out of Garrett Mains? The view of the screens, the view of the man himself, and then the view of the pedal cams as he dances his way around Not Kill. Handful did take to the Joker though, Dane, so now with 3 laps to go, we'll see how the margins play themselves out.
So gentle on the brakes into the first couple of corners there, because you're going down the hill. If you lock up slightly, it is almost game over immediately. But going back to that move to get up into the lead, it was brilliant to just like swoop around the outside, a little bit of the inside, again on the outside of turn 3, cutting the nose off of the 25 as well. Still no Jokers from these 2.
I think they're going to save until the next lap apparently, as we get a great camera shot with the Williams Esports driver staying up late, or I guess waking up early depending on which way you slide it, to join us for some Racecraft Rallycross action. Or rather, that's what they were doing during the IRX World Championship. Getting myself confused here on a Sunday. One of those weird time slots.
Late.
Yeah, no, but it's not nearly as late.
No.
Yes, as the IRX World Championship was. I always find it remarkable, some of the things that people are willing to do in sim racing. Mains and Leskinen both take to the Joker, this time by as expected as we come towards the white flag. There's the Williams Esports machine, and not going to really have a challenge as they sweep their way on through. That's going to be Palaneva that's right behind them and will owe us a Joker coming to the white flag. And so he's now the one kind of to watch as their final transfer position on this final lap of LCQ2.
Through this dirt section, it just looks so cool. The elevation change up and down, and the cars bouncing about. I love this part of the track.
It's one of those sections where you just really understand how much these suspensions really have to work. Mains with the POV cam will ride us to the feature. Leskinen follows him through. Daniel Aish will grab that final spot in the feature in front of Peterson, Palaneva, Ainge, Larill, McKenna, and Sawyer, who we all say goodbye to, at least for this time. They'll be looking to race once again when we go to the Daytona International Speedway in 7 days' time. And so there's a look at the results. Sawyer, the only non-finisher. Everyone else scored on the leading lap. And so with that done, the business has almost been handled. One order of business left to go, and that is the feature event itself here now, Dane, with 10 laps of action and 12 cars gridded up. It's been a tumultuous day for some, a lot, including the likes of Josh Fox, qualified at the front, won their heat without much drama, and have been watching on and waiting to head back out onto track.
Yeah, it's always a weird one when you qualify on pole, especially when you've got so many races. Obviously, you've got the 3 heats and the 2 LCQs as well. If you're in the first heat and you go through, you are just literally sat there watching. There's nothing you can do. There's not like a little hot lap session you can join whilst you wait. No, you're just sitting watching. So, yeah, it is a bit of a weird one. Maybe it's one of the advantages of coming from the LCQ is that you're race prepped. You've been through the gauntlet. Yeah, we see it often in other esports as well. Coming from the lower bracket where you've done more games is often helpful. So, yeah, it's an interesting one, but hopefully it doesn't affect Josh too much. I don't think it will. Very, very experienced driver.
No, I think he'll have a fun little battle as well with Jacob Ross and getting off the line. I want to bring our attention very quickly, though, with 30 seconds left in this warm-up session. Rocket starts from Alexander Ubedi here today.
Yes. I need some of that. I need some of that because my starts are atrocious. It is well known. If you're starting behind me, you better get ready to move out the way because I'm going backwards off the start. It's just, it's terrible. So I need to get me some of that. The starts have been incredible. Starting the second row and suddenly looking as if you're the only person that started on the front row heading into turn 1 was quite incredible to watch.
And don't forget, like Dane mentioned, it is 2x2, but it is kind of fanned out. So if you get a good start from a row behind, you might find yourself checked up. You might also find yourself suddenly 4 wide with nowhere to go. Warm up in the books, just one order of business left, and that is the 10-lap main event, the feature here of RX1 for round 2 of Racecraft Rallycross. Let's run you down to the starting grid and show you how they'll get us underway. Josh Fox looking to convert to grab victory here today, but the defending champion will look alongside to try and challenge him on that climb to turn 1. Lindo, Edmondson, row 2 with Alderton and Palacio in 5th and 6th spots. Abedi, Mains, Heiskanen, Leskinen, as well as Clog and Aish. Those 3 rows, the drivers that had the opportunity to slightly warm themselves up, fighting through the last chance qualifiers. Meanwhile, those inside of the front 6 starting spots had the business done during the heats and got to watch on and calm themselves down and get ready to go. 10 laps on the board, 12 drivers, 1 winner remains here in a Racecraft Rallycross at Knock Hill for 2023. Josh Fox was sliding backwards on the initial launch itself. Rafos leads down the hill with Fox mounting the curve as he tries to mount a challenge. Cars going around behind, including the Williams Esports car of Jarno Leskinen. But front of the field sees Jacob Rafos now leading not from Fox, but instead from his cousin Christian Lindo. Josh Fox getting train wrecks right now as Garrett Mains barges his way through as well.
Side by side through that tyre chicane is almost certain death. I don't know how they managed to make it through their Mains. Coming up clutch at the end of that dirt section. No idea how that move was pulled off successfully, but looking for P2 as well, not settled for P3.
Crazy opening lap, and if you give Jacob Rafos a chance to break away, he would not require a second invitation. Once again, we'll ride driver's eye view with Garrett Baines in that Smithfield Ford Fiesta as the windshield wipers work, hunting down Christian Lindo through the middle sector of the lap. Josh Fox is going to have to calculate his Joker usage here. And just like Dane, you mentioned earlier, the fact that the Joker is on the outside of the braking zone, so you kind of have to work with the car in front when you go down to Joker, is going to make it a little bit more difficult for the Pennsylvania man.
There is a lot that goes into when you can and cannot take your Joker, and it's not just directly in front of you, it's directly behind you as well in some cases. That if you, at Sonoma, you have to brake on the racing line to get into the Joker lap. If there's someone right behind you, probably not the best idea. You've got to figure out where you're going to come out, whether that's in front of you, if it's a shortcut, behind you, if it's a long lap. There's loads that goes into taking the Joker lap, and so far, no one in the top 4 is doing so.
Still content to ride, and once again, maximizing the track on offer. Already 1.5, the margin at the line between first and second spots. Subaru Nitro Circus car down the hill. Once again enters the dirt. It's about 61% tarmac here. 39% dirt, all in this little section that we watch from the rear of the number 13 machine now. As once again the Death Stare makes an appearance. Don't think we're going to see Rafos anywhere near the Joker until that penultimate lap of the race. It really is the question of if those behind see a gap, and I think there's an opportunity to be able to do so. Adam Alderton has seemingly found some gap that he's been able to put himself into, and so our defending race winner here at Knock Hill completes the Joker, running in 8th.
And that is a really good position to be in as well right now, because look at the gap in front. There is nobody for a while. There's no getting held up in traffic after taking that Joker. So a very successful Joker by Al Alderton there. The rest of the drivers now got to try and sort of think about this, because they're all in a pretty big queue, and that does slow you up. It doesn't matter if you're all running really quick laps. You are still somewhat focused on the car in front, and so you're not always focused on the driving. Adam has that advantage now. There's no one else to worry about.
Yeah, based on those flowers by his left-hand side, he's channeling the power of love here at Knock Hill as well. Halfway through this feature event for the RX1 drivers, still waiting for a Joker lap out of those front 7, but Alderton's pace will put them in a bit of a precarious position, already closing to the back of the train that's seemingly formed behind a 5th or so position. Garrett Mains is punching in some feisty lap times right now and is really closing. Last time by closed about 0.4 of a second. The margin down to 1.2. 4 laps left to go.
And it is possible to overtake at the circuit, as we've seen quite a few times already from Mains alone. So we obviously know that Garrett has the overtaking aspect sorted, just catching up that has proven to be difficult, as it has proved to be for pretty much anybody that's raced against Jakob Rafos in the last year and a half or so. It is incredibly tricky. You can see that in the face cam below, entire body tensed up.
I do appreciate the effort from Garrett Maines to go to the effort of actually making his bed. You can see that over driver's shoulder there. A lot of sim racers tend not to do that. I was commentating on something for VCO Esports yesterday, and there was a driver's bed who I won't throw under the bus by mentioning his name right now, who had not gone to that effort. So we may have teased him on the broadcast just a little bit. They wind themselves out of the final corner, though, coming to what will be the penultimate lap of the race, and only Christian Lindo dives down to the Joker from the top 5 or so. The black Ford Ford Fiesta rather, across the line, and he will emerge in 5th spot, clear of Adam Alderton crucially. And his job is now going to be trying to make sure he's in front of Fox and hopefully in front of Maines as well when they Joker next time by. He's got some traffic, though, to contend with.
Yeah, but Maines and Rafos will be heading into the Joker together as well. It's not my number one reason for getting an office, by the way, is
So
I didn't have to make my bed.
Yeah, me too.
If I'm on camera, yeah, exactly.
It's a great idea, great strategy.
Stepping into my soul.
Look at the gap, though. Maines has really brought it down. Just now 8/10 at the line. Christian Lindo does emerge in front of Fox, clear for the podium spot. One more lap, and I think if Maines had 2 more laps, he'd be alongside and battling for the lead. But unfortunately, time is not on his side.
Very, very limited overtaking opportunities left if Jakob Rafos gets through this last part of the circuit cleanly, which he has.
At the front of the field with 6 wins of the 10 races in 2022 Season 2. Our defending champion has started off on fire, 2 wins on the trot, and Jakob Rafos conquers Knock Hill at last. Be Garrett Maines as well as Christian Lindo rounding out the podium spot. Josh Fox, I think, going to be slightly dejected with a 4th place given the qualifying speed that we've seen out. Oh, the Pennsylvania native once more. Alderton 5th, Edmondson 6th, as well as Leskinen, Palacio, Abadi, and Clog, the rest of your top 10. There's a look at the race results, the unofficial race results from top to bottom. Can anyone stop Jakob Rafos at this point in time? Seems an almighty task. Garrett Maines was up for the challenge. 1.2 the margin at the line, but again, the lap times will show rather just how much that Smithfield Ford Fiesta was closing. After Clog, it was Aish and Heiskanen who all finished, despite what we've seen here today. All cars did get classified on the lead lap here today. And Dane, let's not dawdle much longer. Let's head straight down to where our winner is standing by and get our post-race festivities underway. You're chatting with our race winner.
Well, Jacob, back on top of the podium again and again and again. It must feel, you must be getting pretty used to it at this point in this series. You're almost every single round we see you up at the top step, but you've never done it at Knock Hill before, so this must feel a little bit extra special for you.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a lot of practice the last day, actually. I was just thinking about having to drive the Ford or the Subaru. I didn't really know because I was like fast with both of cars. I think the Ford has a little bit better advantage on Knock Hill because it's so small than the Subaru. But yeah, it was a good race, especially with Garrett.
He was closing in a little bit at the end as well. Talk to us quickly about the Joker, just because we've seen a couple of times in the earlier races. Thankfully, we didn't see it here in the feature, where that Joker merge is very dangerous. The cars are coming out at pretty high speed from the final corner on the regular racetrack, and then you've got the Joker as well, and we often see cars colliding there. Is there any sort of strategy that you use to try and make sure that's not going to happen to you?
Yeah, for sure. I was not Joker on the last lap because I knew then it would be some kind of collision and you lose a little bit if you Joker on the last lap because you get that little exit speed from the main track. And yeah, basically I saw somebody do it, but I was just trying to not hit everybody. I know Gary was pretty fast, so I was just trying to cover off him.
Well, extending your lead in the championship as well, heading into the next round. Best of luck for that. Thank you very much for joining us here in the interview booth as well. And we will see you next week.
Thanks, and I'd like to thank Next Level Racing, Simagic, and Sim Racing AS, and all the guys on Nitro Circus team.
Well, always great to hear from Jacob Raffos, and once again up on the top step of the podium, Arjuna.
Yep, but we're chatting now with the man that was trying to hunt him down. Garrett Maines was able to work his way forward from starting back in 8th, courtesy of a journey through the last chance qualifiers. If you had a couple more laps, do you think you could have got close enough to try a move?
Yeah, I think I started pushing too hard, trying to get extra time, and I mean I was short a few laps of, the delta on Jacob was like 0.2 a lap, and I was sitting 0.8 back with 3 to go. So I started trying to find that extra tenth, but I was already on the edge. I mean, he's already pushing the pace to the limit, and I was on the very edge against the barriers, trying not to end my own race. So I'm honestly in shock. I was talking about how this probably is going to be my drop race, and then I had a completely hyper start. So I'm happy to be on the podium, let alone, have had an opportunity to chase down Jacob there.
I gotta ask, I haven't commentated on this track ever before since my last Rallycross broadcast were the World Championships. What do you think about this track? Because boy, it's crazy.
I'm not a fan of this track, but I am a fan of the fact that I can actually run the Ford here and keep up with the Subarus.
There we go.
Because I hate the Subaru. Like, I've never been good in it. So the fact that, this car is, an option, I think that helps me a lot. At all the tracks where I can run a short wheelbase car, I'm fine. And apparently this is one of them. So, if it wants to stay on the schedule, I guess that's okay.
Hopefully more Smithfield Ford. Got it. One more question, we'll let you go. You granted us the wish of more cameras. What else can you show us, though, moving forward? Because the viewers are going to ask for more at next time. Surely you can expect this.
Yeah, hopefully I can show you some victory burnouts at some point this season, because that's the one thing I feel like we've been missing. We've been close a couple times throughout, since season 1. But yeah, I want to get back there. I haven't run these cars a ton, since then, since the World Championship isn't exactly a thing anymore for these cars. I haven't, had the time to apply to it. But, it seems my Volkswagen days are still showing in the Ford, so that helps.
Well, you got Daytona coming up next week, so hopefully that goes well. Great run tonight, Garrett, and we'll see you 7 days from now as we head over to the Sunshine State.
Appreciate it. I got to give a huge shout out to MCU Body, Linux, and Cover Seal for all their support this year.
Garrett Maines second and chasing down your race winner, but we'll head to the final step of the podium. Dane Baird standing by with Christian Lindo.
Well, Christian, it was a crazy race, that is for sure. And just talk us through the start of the race where you managed to pull off a brilliant move around the outside of Josh Fox. How important is the start at the circuit?
It's really important if you're getting behind people and those are driving slow. The only way you can pass on this track is T1.
Well, yeah, getting through the dirt section is it's probably one of the most difficult parts of this track, especially when you've got so many cars going through there. Knockhill is a circuit that is probably one of the least common circuits that we see on any of these calendars, one of the newer ones as well. It's a very odd circuit. What are your thoughts on running the Ford here?
I think we may be having some technical issues with the one and only Dane Baird, so I'll step in. Christian, I mean, let's talk a little bit about the fact that we actually had some Fords here. I think that's the question Dane was trying to ask. How is it being able to switch things up and not having to run the Subaru once again?
It's not so easy, but at this track, I think it's the Ford who is the quickest when the track is getting a little bumpy and more. And yeah, I think the Ford is the best on this track, but we will switch to the Subaru to next round again and be driving the Subaru out of the season.
Okay, so for the rest of the season, we'll see you in that same car. Daytona's up next. What do you think about that? Of course, it's everyone's got plenty of practice there compared to something like Knockhill, where maybe not everyone has the same level of experience.
Yeah, I don't like that track so much, but we'll try our best and we will see what we can do. We didn't have the best season start when we got turned around in T2, so we didn't get a best season start, but we'll try and make the best and see what place we can get.
Well, thanks for joining us here today, Christian, in the broadcast booth. Congratulations on a podium finish, and we'll see you next time from Daytona.
Yeah, see ya.
Let's take a look at the schedule then very quickly before we wrap things up here on Racecraft TV. And of course, like we mentioned, with a handful of the drivers, is a trip over to one of the staples of iRX competition here. It is Daytona, and it is the long version of Daytona, which usually means a lot of beating and banging as we work our way through the middle of the lap.
Yeah, the jump here is an interesting one. It's definitely not the easiest. We see a lot of incidents, very similar to how we saw with the jump at Phoenix in that middle sector. You do have a couple of good overtaking opportunities at Daytona as well, so really looking forward to it.
Unfortunately, I'm going to miss it, so I'm going to leave Dame Baird in the capable hands of someone else to be announced on social media in the next few days. Going to be looking forward to watching on from the sidelines. Dame Baird is shaking my head, but he had the opportunity to be at Simply Race, and apparently he decided not to take it up. He'll instead get to commentate on some more great Rallycross action here in this Racecraft Rallycross 2023 season. RX2 and RX1 once again visit Knock Hill and put on a banger of an event. We'll see you in 7 days' time from the World Center of Racing. For everyone behind the scenes, for our producer Ryan Bauer, with myself, Arjuna Kenkipati, alongside with the one, the only Dane Baird. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you from the World Center of Racing.